Charlie Waldor is heir to an empire and prince of the urban social jungle. He keeps life on a knife's edge and lives as fast as he drives his sports car. He is the one about whom there are rumors and who, like a magnet, attracts women's attention. Everything in his life is speed, adrenaline, sparkling shop windows, and endless nights full of temptations and games. And Emma is the daughter of a maid, whose existence is shrouded in the drabness of servants and a hidden life in the shadows of the Waldor mansion. She hides from view, dreaming of a world where her status does not limit her limits. "You have a year left, Emma," Charlie says, his velvety voice resonating with every nerve of hers. "A year to be with me," he continues, as if the outlines of his proposal are superimposed on fate itself. The change began when Emma and Charlie, under completely random circumstances, saw in each other not a stratification of social statuses, but sparks of the possible. Emma, whose past is traumatized by loss and devaluation, has found an unexpected ally in Charlie, hiding behind the mask of a carefree major. And Charlie saw in Emma a beacon of authenticity in a sea of lies. Their story, by the way, began with the convergence of paths and the boiling of feelings, with the confrontation of fate and the desire for the unattainable. Their destinies intertwine on the brink of change, permeating the pages of Emma. Pages on which lines were printed about a girl without property and a prince without a conscience, about the preconditions of love and the other side of desire. Pages that convey the thrill of reality and the tenderness of unspoken dreams. Emma's mother, an aging soul due to constant layoffs and the loss of her husband, killed at the behest of a powerful employer, bitterly held the reins of humiliation while working for the Waldor family. And Emma, whose life was constantly tested for strength, learned to find a way through the storm and look for light in the darkest forgotten corners of the house where they began to live by chance. A wave of tension hung in the air as Emma watched the taxi drive away, the only link in the life they had just left behind. Next to her was the role of the new au pair, her mother, a woman whose heart was struggling with the insults of fate. Martha, as she was called herself not by name but by position. Christina, forgotten by name, bore the name of the cause that allowed them both to survive. Charlie, the Waldor's golden boy, looked at Emma with unshakable calm. His dog Boss, who had previously shown affection towards Charlie and aggression towards everyone else, now put aside his protective role and studied the new arrival carefully. "Our mother came to get a job," Emma said doomedly, answering the alarming question in Charlie's eyes. "And you got tired of the old maid, and you decided to find a new one?" "I'm tired of this kind of treatment," Charlie said sharply with contempt in his voice, as if testing the girl's reaction. Emma, feeling a heavy wave of alienation, took a step towards the entrance, ready to follow Charlie's directions to the servant's house where she would live if the interview with her mother went well. "If Mom doesn't get the job, we'll leave right away," Emma said, as if these words were a shield from his piercing gaze. Charlie took her hand with slight coercion. "Master, sniff," he said, and the dog allowed itself to obey his command with interest. The boss, obediently stretching out his wet nose, almost touchingly rubbed himself on Emma's wrist, fixing her scent in his memory. "Thank you for showing me my place," she replied modestly when Charlie finally released her. "But you don't have to worry about me." The intrigue between them began to weave its first patterns. Charlie looked incredulously at the girl, whose eyes shone with a change of state that he could not fully understand. The boss, who rested his head on Emma's knee, seemed to understand more than his master. "And let it be known, Charlie," Emma said, about to leave, but turned around decisively. "My mother is not just a beautiful woman, and I'm not just some girl. There is more to us than we seem, and no matter what you say or what you think, there is more to our lives than just playing your game." Emma's footsteps sounded like music playing a different note, promising a new melody in the world of the Waldors. Charlie smiled eagerly, waiting for the continuation of this unplanned retinue. Emma felt the dawning of fear in her chest, which intensified at the thought of the real difficulties and dangers that lurk in their lives, especially after her mother began to work for the Waldors. "Don't worry, I'm fine. It was necessary to finish some things so as not to leave the owners with unresolved issues," my mother answered affectionately, hiding her fatigue behind a warm smile. "And now I have the whole day just for you, no matter how much you deny your nightly conversations." Not having had time to recover from her evening wakefulness, Emma still felt excited in anticipation of a day that promised to be full of surprises. Birthdays always sounded like a magic spell, bringing something new and magical into their humble lives. Encouraged by her mother's energy, she got dressed and prepared to see the city that always seemed distant and inaccessible behind the high walls of the mansion. Indeed, even in her own home, Emma's dreams were hidden and blocked by unfulfilled hopes. As they left the servants' quarters and headed for the taxi they had called, Emma and her mother talked about the future. "Maybe it's time to change jobs," Emma suggested quietly, although she felt that this was extremely risky. "There is at least some kind of stability within these walls." My mother looked around the world in which she did not feel like a full-fledged mistress. "This is our place for now, until something else comes along. But today we will forget about everything and celebrate your 17th birthday properly." The taxi glided smoothly along the morning streets, and outside the window flashed the life full of colors and light that Emma was striving for. Walking through windy alleys and busy squares, she dreamed of the day when she would meet freedom and the high walls would be just a memory. "Let's go," my mother invites, looking at me with warmth and an unexpected sparkle in her eyes. We head to one of the cozy cafes, where the noise of conversations and the aroma of coffee create the illusion of relaxation and tranquility. Despite the fact that I was worried about my mother's unreasonable generosity, this day was supposed to be exactly the holiday I had dreamed of. Mom remains a mystery. Her sudden generosity, her bright mood and assertiveness on this day seemed to be something radically new and unknown. How many times have I dreamed of the day when I can forget about bills and just enjoy life to the fullest? But now I'm faced with anxiety about what we'll actually face when we get home. As if sensing my thoughts, my mother holds my hand across the table, her mischievous grin keeping me from sitting still. "Spirit sisters on our adventures," she says, winking at me from across the table. "Today is a special day for us. Let's enjoy it." Every bite of pasta, every sip of drink gives me strength, and I see my mother's face reflect the passion for life that we both longed for. She tells me funny stories about clients in luxury homes, shares her dreams of a future in which she is not just a maid, but a person who controls her own destiny, what she always wanted to be. Dessert arrives. The cake is like a work of art, the sparkles of the candles reflecting in my mother's eyes as she softly sings "Happy Birthday" to me. I squeeze her hand, knowing that our dreams can wait, because happiness and joy are what really matter. Time will pass, and we will deal with all the problems that may arise after our little gluttony. But now, among the conversations and light music, I just want to remember the moment when we were both happy together. On the way back in the car, I try to guess Mom's plan, but she just puts her finger to her lips and looks ahead. "Sometimes," she says, "the most mysterious thing in life is allowing yourself to be a little reckless." Returning to the Waldor mansion with a new backpack on my lap and the sweet taste of dessert on my lips, I find myself again between the familiar walls of our temporary home. Mom confidently steps forward, and I understand that this day will leave a bright mark in my soul that will warm me on dark days. And although there may still be many storms ahead, I am confident that my mother and I can survive any challenge. But I can't forget in my head an unexpected meeting with Charlie, the heir to the Waldor legacy, which brought an unexpected shade to the palette of our days. When he approached us in the cafe, any sense of impending doom dissipated under the weight of his kindness. My mother's reflection, torn between apprehension and surprise, reflected my own inner conflict. Mom silently watches Charlie. There is a hint of concern mixed with curiosity in her gaze. But I feel much more, a growing fear of shame that makes my pulse quicken. We're here to celebrate my birthday, not to commit an act of social suicide, because hanging out with Charlie, the son of the powerful Harry Waldor, could lead to trouble. I pray to myself that Charlie will pass by, but all the signs in the sky indicate that the holiday will soon turn into a test. When Charlie approaches our table and stops with a friendly smile, Mom stands up and, despite my worried look, tries to say hello. "Don't worry," Charlie interrupts, his voice surprisingly calm. "I just noticed you and thought I'd stop by and say hi. Happy birthday." And he turns his attention to me, his gaze warm and free of the contempt that I was so afraid of. His girlfriend looks at us with interest, sweetly waves her hand at us, as if understanding the awkwardness of the situation and not attaching any importance to it, which strangely pacifies the whole situation. "Thank you," I exhale in response, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. Mom smiles gratefully, and Charlie seemed ready to take another step forward, but looked back at his companion. "We don't want to bother you anymore. Go and enjoy your cake," Charlie says, his departure as unexpected as his arrival. When he leaves, I feel the tension in my shoulders go away, and I breathe a sigh of relief. "See, it's not so scary," Mom whispers as soon as they leave. "We must continue to celebrate too." I nod, but with that nod comes the piercing thought that this brief exchange of politeness may have an unforeseen impact on our position in the Waldor household. But now, on this bright day, I don't care about Charlie's wealth and his problems, because at this moment, here and now, there is only my mother and I, and our little happiness. On the way home, despite all my concerns, my mother insists on buying a cake. "He will fulfill your wish, daughter," she assures me, and I cannot refuse, because for a moment, I want to believe that all dreams can come true, even the boldest and seemingly unattainable. The chapters of days slipped through Emma's fingers like sand, and every event in her life seemed to lead to an ending that she could only imagine in her vague dreams. This unexpected birthday was just a prologue to the magical changes that awaited her. Charlie, the heir to wealth and names, the one who hovered in her thoughts like a mysterious prince, increasingly shone as a star in her sky. With every meeting, awkward conversation, fleeting glance, a thin thread stretched between them, which pulled them to each other, overcoming social barriers and stereotypes. Love, quiet and real, boiled under the surface of their communication, and as soon as it made itself felt, it burst into flames. That evening came. All the stars united in a heavenly dance, and the Waldor mansion, huge and majestic, witnessed an incomprehensible feeling. Emma, in the light of the setting sun, stood at the edge of a blooming garden, where every petal and leaf also trembled in anticipation. A pointed star hung overhead, perhaps the same one that had witnessed unbreakable vows in times long forgotten. Charlie found her, slightly out of breath from walking quickly. In his hands was one small flower, naively beautiful in its simplicity. "Emma," he began, every word weighing heavily on his heart. "I can't fight what I feel for you." She looked at him with eyes full of tears of surprise and joy, her heart pounding in her chest. "Charlie," she answered, barely audible. "Me too." The truth of their feelings cannot be expressed in words. And when Charlie found the courage to close the gap between them, their lips met in a kiss that no song could describe. Time stood still for a moment, as the world stands still before dawn turns into day. Emma and Charlie, surrounded by the scent of flowers and the harmony of the sunset, united their destinies. The next morning the sun rose brighter than ever, and they walked hand in hand, confident that together they were stronger than any obstacle. Perhaps life will give them trials, but the torch of unquenchable hope and love burned in their hearts. The love of Emma and Charlie was like an eternal melody, a story in which every note sounds inescapable. The final chord of this song remained unknown, but one thing was for sure: it would be filled with light, because true love illuminates the darkest corners of the world.